You look at Qatar, I'm going to pronounce it the way I think a lot of people have this time. Um, how they spent an incredible amount of money coming into this World Cup, like I think 14 or 15 times what Russia had spent. How do you calculate the return on investment? Any thoughts around that?
Right, so as you know, any major sporting event in the world generally seems to make a loss. These kind of huge tournaments, the Olympics, the World Cups.
Right.
There's so much infrastructure for such a short time. Of course, Qatar spending more than 10 times what Russia or any other
Hmm.
World Cup has spent. So there's no way they're going to recoup that money in commercial terms. Instead, it's better to see that as an investment in their political capital.
Yeah. When you look at the impact that this has on Qatar, and just any thoughts as to whether net having covered other World Cups, of course, we're doing this conversation prior to the final. Has it been a success? Is it more weakly attended because of where it is, or how would you gauge this in the pantheon of World Cup experiences?
Yeah, well, it's certainly going to be more weekly attended than the next World Cup, partly because Qatar's stadiums are a lot smaller than the ones that are going to be used in North America. And so, because of that, not as many people could attend as they wanted to. In terms of the infrastructure, even though it's got the smallest stadiums allowed by FIFA to host this tournament, it's still been stretched to the limit. We've seen them having to use cruise ships and create fan zones where people sleep in tents in order to accommodate all the people who have attended the World Cup. I think it depends how you look at it, but I think they would probably see, apart from it's not been perfect for them, they probably would see it as a success, especially within the region itself, within the neighbouring countries, where a lot of them have seen it as this is the first World Cup in the Middle East kind of area, and I think there's maybe a lot of pride about that, and that's kind of going to raise our standing a little bit. It's also helped them, politically get a lot of deals and stuff done behind the scenes, which is going to help them, and that's what that investment's really for, to build up political capital, that soft power.
I want to ask about just the impact of a win. We have France, the previous winner. As you say, a lot of these folks have come in as behemoths to begin with. It's a big sport in Europe. Is there any way to calculate the actual impact? Is it psychological to win, or is there an actual advantage to having won a World Cup? Either a financial advantage to France, or just in general, it seems to me it's much more of a celebration of the sport than it is something that you do for the money making capacity it brings to your country. Maybe Morocco's different.
Yeah, so for the country itself, as you go through the tournaments and do better, of course, that's going to help the country. Of course, in England, every time they get to the next round, the beer sales in the pubs go through the roof, for example. And so you've got that, and yeah, it does give the more prestige to the country. I think with Morocco, it's put them on the map almost. More people are going to think of Morocco as a footballing nation. Morocco have actually wanted to host the World Cup and have failed to host it several times. Of course, they competed against North America to go for the 2026 World Cup. By doing so well in this tournament, that's going to help them and raise their prestige within football itself, which could help them maybe host other major tournaments in the future. So you've got that side of things. Even though maybe financially it's not as rewarding, it has those other benefits, especially for your name value, your prestige, and how people view within the sport.
Great. Anything else we should be watching before Sunday's game, or that's on your radar you'd want to put on ours, Steve?
Yes, I mean the thing everybody's talking about is this is Lionel Messi going into the final. A lot of people have been comparing him to Cristiano Ronaldo, and especially looking, with a bit of recency bias towards this tournament.
Right.
Probably should remember that Ronaldo's more than 2 years older than Messi, and when you're coming to the end of your career, those extra years are very important in terms of what you're able to achieve. But if, of course, Lionel Messi and Argentina do win, then that would put him level with, say, Diego Maradona, who, of course, won
Mm-hmm.
the World Cup with Argentina, and they both also have scored 5 goals this tournament. So if he could score one more, that would top what Maradona did in the 70s.
And so Pele, who I know is in hospice right now, not necessarily viewed as the greatest of all time. The battle is between those two at the moment for deciding who really is in the top ranks.
Well, it's so subjective to decide who's the best of all time, especially when you're comparing between eras. I mean, when I've watched past footage of how Maradona played, he got fouled so much on the pitch, and if he was playing nowadays, that wouldn't be the case at all. The referee would stop it a lot more. That's going to maybe mean that if he was playing now, he'd be able to perform even better than he did in the past. So comparing between eras is very difficult. But when we're looking at two top players of the last 10 years or so, we've got Ronaldo and Messi. A win for Argentina would probably make most people say that Messi is the better of those two.
Great. Well, something to watch. Thanks for joining us, Steve.